In the quiet embrace of the night, as your breathing softens and the world around you drifts into silence, let me guide you into one of history's darkest and most haunting whispers, a legend that has survived the rise and fall of civilizations, carried from battlefield to battlefield by trembling tongues and sleepless soldiers, a tale of a figure so ancient and so persistent that its presence seems woven into the very fabric of human conflict. And as you slowly sink deeper into calmness, imagine the dim horizon where armies once gathered under the fading light of dawn. Imagine the heavy smell of iron, earth, and dread. And imagine how in those fragile moments before chaos, countless warriors describe seeing the same impossible silhouette standing completely still at the far edge of the field, a tall and faceless shadow, darker than the darkest armor, motionless yet undeniably alive, watching, always watching, as though death itself had taken a physical form merely to observe its harvest. And the earliest known reference to this being comes from a crumbling Mesopotamian clay tablet dating back nearly 5,000 years, discovered near the ruins of Lagash, where a scribe recorded the words of terrified soldiers who claimed that just before their king fell in battle, a man of night stood atop a small hill, unaffected by wind, arrows, or shout. And when the soldiers advanced toward him, he neither moved nor responded, simply dissolving into the morning mist as if he had always been part of the horizon itself. And centuries later in ancient Egypt, a papyrus from the reign of Thutmose III recounts a similar presence seen just before the battle of Megiddo, a figure described as the tall shadow who turns the hearts of men cold, and the priests claimed it was a servant of an old god of death, though which god no one agreed. And across the sea in Greece, Herodotus wrote of Spartan hoplites who witnessed a black silhouette standing alone on the battlefield of Thermopylae as the Persians approached. And though he treated the story cautiously, he noted that several men swore under oath that the being did not walk, but appeared, vanished, and reappeared as though space itself bent around it. And if you let your mind drift gently now, you might imagine the rhythmic echo of distant shields clashing, a soft, slow, almost hypnotic repetition that fades into the background, guiding you deeper into rest as the narrative continues, because the legend did not disappear with antiquity. Instead, it grew, traveled, adapted to each new empire. And in medieval Europe, chroniclers described it frequently, especially during the 100 Years' War, when both English and French soldiers independently wrote of a silent watcher who stood on a ridge near Crécy on a foggy morning, its outline visible even from great distance, and moving, unarmed, but carrying the weight of something older than kingdoms. And the monks who copied these accounts insisted the figure was not an angel nor a demon, but something deeply tied to fate itself, a harbinger, a witness, or perhaps a collector of souls. And as your eyelids grow heavier, Imagine the dim glow of torches flickering on castle walls, while weary fighters whispered these things in fear, tracing the sign of the cross before drifting into an easy sleep. Though some said that speaking of the figure invited misfortune, and in the East, similar stories existed, with samurai in feudal Japan referring to the same being as Kage no Kanshi, the shadow watcher, noting that it appeared on the blood-soaked grounds of Sekigahara moments before the fog thickened and thousands died. And one surviving scroll describes the figure as neither man nor ghost, but an old witness of war. And when we travel further, across the vast plains of Central Asia, Mongol warriors under Genghis Khan reportedly encountered a pitch-black figure on the morning before a decisive campaign, and though they feared nothing, they avoided looking directly at it, believing it to be an omen from Tengri, the sky god, a sign that death would take many that day. And slowly, gently, the legend threaded itself into the Ottoman wars as well, with Janissaries at the Battle of Mohacs reporting that a dark figure stood in the marshland just before the Hungarian line collapsed, a shape so still that even the reeds round it seemed afraid to move. And as the empire expanded, so did the stories carried like ghostly seeds on the breath of tired soldiers who fought far from home. And if you relax deeper now, imagine the soft rustling of banners in the wind, a soothing rhythm, the kind that calms the mind even when the story grows darker. Because by the 17th century, the legend had drifted into early modern warfare, with musketeers in the 30 Years' War claiming the figure sometimes stood in the smoke of gunpowder, impossible to approach yet impossible to ignore. And one diary from 1630 recounts how the soldiers tried to walk toward it only to find that the distance between them and the figure never shrank, as if the earth itself stretched to maintain the separation. And in more recent centuries, during the Napoleonic campaigns, several French officers described a black silhouette standing on snow-covered hillsides in Russia. And one officer, shaken and frostbitten, insisted that the figure turned its head toward him, though it had no face at all, just a smooth, endless darkness. And the same presence was reported again during the Crimean War, this time by British soldiers who saw it at twilight near Sevastopol, its tall form half hidden by drifting smoke. And despite its stillness, everyone who saw it felt watched, measured, almost counted. And as you drift closer to sleep now, imagine the soft hush of snow falling, a comforting quiet that covers even the most frightening memories, because the legend presses onward into the modern world with scattered reports from World War I trenches, where many men described seeing a tall, dark figure standing silently just beyond the wire, untouched by artillery blasts that shook the earth. And in World War II, a German officer wrote of seeing a man of perfect shadow standing in a burning village in Poland, not fleeing, not walking, simply observing as the flames passed through him. Without resistance, an American. Soldiers in the Pacific Theater reported something eerily similar during a night battle on Peleliu, a figure illuminated for a moment by a flare, tall and motionless, vanishing completely when the light faded. And though skeptics claimed these sightings were the result of exhaustion, fear, or hallucination, the consistency of the descriptions across continents, cultures, languages, and thousands of years makes the mystery almost soothing in its continuity. Like an ancient lullaby sung in a minor key, steady, persistent, familiar. And some historians have suggested the figure represents a collective human archetype, the embodiment of death itself, not as an enemy, but as an observer, a record keeper of mortality, while others believe it is merely coincidence, a shadow misinterpreted in moments of fear, though there are those, especially among folklorists, who insist that the figure is real, older than war, older than humanity, something that appears not to intervene, but to witness, documenting silently the cycles of violence that humans repeat. And as you breathe slowly and calmly now, imagine that all of history's battles are like fading dreams, their sounds distant, muffled, dissolving into the soft darkness around you, and imagine that the figure, whatever it truly is, stands far away on the horizon, not approaching, not threatening, simply watching the rise and fall of civilizations with the patience of mountains. And whether it is myth, spirit, or something yet unnamed, the tale of the ancient master of death remains one of humanity's most enduring shadows, stretching from the clay tablets of antiquity to the diaries of modern soldiers, a silent companion to the story of war. And now, as you drift deeper into rest, let the legend settle like a whisper at the edge of your thoughts, gentle, distant, harmless, dissolving slowly into the quiet night surrounding you, leaving behind only the soft comfort of stillness, where no shadows move and no watchers stand, and you are safe, calm, and at peace.